All right, so welcome to the deep dive where, we take a deep dive into something you guys send in, and today is no exception. It's about this whole idea of employee turnover, kind of a big, maybe scary topic for a lot of folks in HR.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah. And we got this awesome article, let me see, it's from the Contrarian HR, sounds a little edgy, right?
A little bit.
By Sylvia Ola. It's called HR's Ideal Turnover Rate. And I think you're going to like this one. You can find it in the description.
Yeah, it really cuts to the chase of, something that I think a lot of us wonder but don't always say out loud. Where does this ideal turnover rate even come from?
Yeah, like is it written on, some like HR tablet on a mountaintop somewhere?
Right, exactly.
I love how Ola just calls out, the absurdity of chasing a specific percentage. Like she even talks about this CHRO she knew who was freaking out about like dropping turnover from 21% to 19%.
Oh, I've seen that happen so many times.
Just because some, industry benchmark report said so, right?
Yeah, and the funniest part is this CHRO, they didn't even know who was leaving or why.
That's like, hello, context.
Right. It's a classic example of how we get so caught up in comparing ourselves to others that we forget to look at what's actually happening within our own organizations.
Totally. And the other thing that bugs me is how we often treat turnover like it's automatically this horrible thing, this big evil monster. But what if, and stay with me here, what if the people leaving are actually, not your best performers?
And that's a great point. It can definitely be a positive thing. If your low performers are the ones walking out the door, that actually creates space for rock star talent to come in and shine.
Exactly. Turnover can actually be a sign of a healthy organization, right?
Yeah.
It means that underperformance isn't tolerated and there's room for high performers to grow.
Couldn't agree more. Think back on your career. I'm sure there have been times where someone leaving actually opened up a new opportunity for you.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
A promotion, a cool project, maybe even the chance to reshape your team in a positive way.
All because someone decided to move on. Which brings us to, I think, Ola's most important point. Companies should be focusing on, she calls it, harnessing talent, rather than just like desperately trying to keep people at any cost.
I love that framing, harnessing talent.
She actually says, quote, "The money isn't in retention, it's in our ability to harness talent from day one," end quote.
Yeah.
And I think that's so powerful, right? It's this idea that instead of just trying to keep butts in seats,
Just for the sake of it.
yeah, exactly. We should be focusing on getting the absolute most out of every single employee, no matter how long they're with us.
Like squeezing all the juice out of the lemon.
Yeah. Even if you only have that lemon for a short time, you can still make some amazing lemonade, right?
Yeah.
And Oli uses this awesome example of, she mentions this employee who only worked at a company for 6 months.
6 months.
Right, but in that time, they came up with a brilliant marketing idea that completely changed the company's strategy. And that's the thing, right? Someone can be there for a short time and still make a huge impact. She also talks about there was another person who streamlined a bunch of workflows in just 3 months, making everyone more efficient.
Wow.
And then this other one, it was a Gen Z employee who completely revamped the whole onboarding process all within a short time at the company.
It's so inspiring to hear those stories because it just shows you, like every employee has this untapped potential. What if every company was a place where people felt empowered to contribute ideas and make a difference no matter how long they plan to stay?
I love that. But instead, we get stuck with this dreaded turnover metric, right? And it's often based on like the worst data, right? Like incomplete data or data that's totally inaccurate.
Totally. Ola actually points out that most organizations, they don't even have the details on why people are leaving. So how can you even begin to fix it if you don't know the reason?
Yeah, it's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing.
Exactly. You're just guessing at that point.
You might, get a little bit of the picture, but you're never going to see the whole thing. And I think that ties into this bigger problem, right, of like data-driven decision-making in HR.
I think you're right. Yeah.
We talk about it all the time, but are we actually doing it? We need to move past like gut feelings and assumptions and start making decisions based on, actual evidence.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the real power of understanding turnover lies, right? It's not about just reducing a number on a spreadsheet. It's about uncovering the stories, the why behind that number. Who is leaving? Why are they leaving? And what can we learn from those departures?
I love that. And I think Ola really hits the nail on the head when she talks about how, employees often feel like management just talks about turnover, but they don't actually do anything about it.
Oh, yeah, you hear that a lot.
And that disconnect can be so damaging, right? If leaders are truly concerned about turnover, they have to walk the walk. They have to go beyond those surface level metrics and actually dig into the root causes.
It can't just be a box-ticking exercise.
Right. Right. You have to actually listen to your employees
Really understand their experiences.
and create a culture where people feel, heard, valued, empowered to contribute, where they know their feedback actually matters.
And that kind of culture, that can be a huge competitive advantage,
Totally.
even in industries where, turnover is traditionally high.
Like imagine a fast-paced tech startup.
Yeah.
You'd think a high turnover rate there would be a disaster, but what if it's actually what helps them stay, agile and innovative?
That's a good point.
By constantly bringing in fresh perspectives, they can adapt quickly to like the ever-changing market.
It's like a revolving door of talent, but in a good way.
Right. Each person brings their own unique skills and ideas, and even if they don't stay long, they leave behind a little piece of themselves that contributes to the company's, overall success.
I like that.
And you see that in other fields too, right? Like roles that need constant innovation,
Hmm.
marketing or design. Sometimes like a fresh perspective is exactly what you need to get out of a creative rut.
It's like that saying, a ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for.
Ooh, I like that.
Sometimes a little bit of movement, a little bit of change is actually what keeps things moving in the right direction.
Love it. And Ola really pushes us to think critically, right, about our own assumptions. Like, just because something is a widely accepted metric doesn't mean it's actually useful.
Right. Or even meaningful.
It's about questioning the status quo.
And figuring out what truly works for your organization. And I think this applies to so much more than just turnover, It's about taking a data-driven approach to all aspects of HR.
Everything.
Recruiting and hiring, performance management, compensation.
Because without the right data, you're just like, shoot in the dark.
Yeah, you might get lucky, but chances are you're going to miss the mark.
Absolutely. And that's why I think this deep dive is so important, It's about empowering you, the listener, to think differently about this whole idea of turnover.
Challenge the way things have always been done.
It's about understanding that sometimes the most valuable insights come from unexpected places, even from those who only stay for a short time. So as we wrap up this deep dive into employee turnover, let's leave you with some food for thought. What if, instead of fearing turnover, we embraced it as an opportunity? An opportunity to learn, to grow, and to constantly evolve as an organization. Imagine if we saw every employee, regardless of how long they stay, as a potential source of innovation and progress. What kind of culture could we create? What kind of impact could we make? That's the real challenge Ola throws down in her article, and it's one we should all be thinking about. So the next time you see that turnover metric flashing red on your dashboard, don't panic. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what's the story behind this number? Dig into the data, talk to your employees, and be open to challenging your assumptions. You might be surprised by what you discover. And who knows, maybe you'll even find that a little bit of turnover is exactly what your organization needs to thrive. If you enjoyed this deep dive into employee turnover, be sure to subscribe for more episodes where we explore a range of fascinating topics. And don't forget to check out the full article by Sylvia Ola. We've linked it in the description. She brings up even more thought-provoking points that we didn't have time to cover today. Thanks for joining us, and remember, sometimes the most valuable insights come from the most unexpected places, even from those who are just passing through.
Yeah.